They counted you out before you even began, before you took your first step, before you spoke your first words of ambition, before you even had the chance to prove yourself. They had already decided your fate. They looked at you and saw nothing, no worth, no promise, no future. You were a shadow in their world, a name easily forgotten, a face they never bothered to truly see. They dismissed you as if you were invisible, as if you never had the right to rise, as if the very idea of you succeeding was an insult to their reality. You felt it, didn't you? The weight of their judgment pressing against your chest, making every breath feel like a battle. The sideways glances, the forced smiles, the pity disguised as concern. They spoke in hushed tones, their voices dripping with certainty. That one won't make it. Asterisk. They don't have what it takes. Asterisk. Just another dreamer destined to fail. Asterisk. You heard them, even when they thought you weren't listening. You felt their laughter like knives in your back, their doubts like chains around your ankles. Every time you tried to stand, something, someone, pushed you back down. It wasn't just strangers. It was the ones who were supposed to believe in you, the ones who were supposed to lift you up. Maybe it was a teacher who told you to aim lower, to be more realistic. Maybe it was a parent whose love came with condition, whose approval felt just out of reach. Maybe it was the so-called friends who only stayed close enough to watch you struggle, never close enough to offer a hand. And then, worst of all, there was Asterisk, you. Asterisk, the version of yourself that started believing them, the voice in your own head that whispered the same poisonous words they did. Asterisk, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I should just stop trying. You carried that weight everywhere. The feeling of being unworthy, of being overlooked, of being a disappointment. It clung to you like a second skin, wrapping itself around your soul, suffocating your fire before it even had a chance to burn. You learned to shrink yourself, to stay quiet, to take up less space. You convinced yourself that if you stayed small, if you didn't reach too high, you wouldn't fall too hard. But deep down, in the parts of you that still dared to dream, you knew this wasn't the life you were meant to live. Still, the world kept proving you wrong, didn't it? Every time you tried to break free, it slammed the door in your face. Every time you reached for more, something pulled you back. It felt like a never-ending war, like you were fighting battles you were doomed to lose. And yet, despite it all, you were still here, still breathing, still standing. They wanted you to disappear, to fade into nothing, but something inside you refused. Something inside you still burned, even if it was just a flicker. And that flicker, that tiny ember buried beneath years of doubt, that was the beginning of something they never saw coming. They told you who you were before you even had a chance to decide for yourself. They built a story around you, brick by brick, word by word, until the walls of their lies became the prison you lived in. They told you that you were small, that you were weak, that the world was too big and too cruel for someone like you to ever matter. They fed you their doubts, their fears, their limitations, and they did it so convincingly that you started swallowing them whole. You started believing that the ceiling they placed above you was the sky. They made sure you never questioned it. From the moment you were old enough to dream, they were already working to shrink those dreams into something more acceptable. Don't aim too high. Don't expect too much. Asterisk. Be realistic. Those words weren't just advice. They were chains, carefully crafted to keep you in place. And when you started to feel the weight of those chains, they told you it was normal. They told you that struggling was just part of life, that suffering was the price you had to pay for daring to want more. They made you believe that the problem wasn't the cage, it was you. But it wasn't just words. It was the way the world treated you. Every door that was shut in your face, every opportunity that was dangled just out of reach, every time you worked twice as hard, only to be told it still wasn't enough. They built a system designed to keep you small, to keep you doubting yourself, to make sure you never realized the power that had been inside you all along. And the cruelest part, they convinced you that it was asterisk, your asterisk fault, that you were the problem, that if you were just asterisk, better asterisk, just asterisk, smarter asterisk, just asterisk, stronger asterisk, maybe, just maybe, you'd be worth something. And so you tried. You bent yourself to fit their mold. You buried parts of yourself just to be accepted. You played by their rules, thinking that if you did everything right, they would finally see your worth. But no matter how much you gave, it was never enough, because that was never the point. The truth they never wanted you to see was this, asterisk. It was never about you being weak. It was about them being afraid of what you could become. Because if you ever woke up, if you ever truly saw yourself, your strength, your fire, they would lose control. They would lose their grip on you. They spent so long feeding you lies because they knew that the moment you saw the truth, you would be unstoppable. You would rise, and they would have no power over you anymore. That's why they tried so hard to break you, because they knew that if you ever broke free, you would never bow to them again. No one saw the nights you spent alone, staring at the ceiling, drowning in thoughts that never let you rest. No one saw the battles you fought in the silence, the war that raged inside your mind, the questions that haunted you when the world had gone quiet. Asterisk, am I enough? Will I ever be? They saw your face in the daylight, the forced smile, the mask you wore so well, but they never saw the cracks beneath it. They never saw the weight you carried, the exhaustion in your soul, the moments when you wanted to give up, but somehow found the strength to keep going. You walked through fire, but no one ever reached out to pull you out. The world watched as you burned, some too indifferent to care, others too entertained by your suffering to intervene. You stumbled, you fell, and each time you had to claw your way back up alone. There were days when the loneliness felt unbearable, when the silence of an empty room felt louder than any scream, but no one noticed, no one asked. They were too busy underestimating you to realize that each scar was turning you into something unbreakable. Suffering became your closest companion. It walked beside you in every failure, whispered in your ear every time you felt like you weren't enough. But somewhere along the way, you stopped fearing it. You stopped running from it, because the pain that once threatened to destroy you was now the fire that was forging you. Every rejection, every betrayal, every moment of doubt, it wasn't breaking you. It was shaping you. It was sharpening you into something they wouldn't be able to ignore for much longer. They thought you were fading, but you were only transforming. They thought you were weak, because they never saw the war you were winning in the dark. They didn't see your pain, but pain was making you stronger. And soon, they would see what they had unknowingly created, a force they could no longer control. There was a moment, maybe one night, maybe a series of days that blurred into each other, when it almost all collapsed, when the weight became too much, when the fight seemed pointless, when the voice inside whispered, asterisk, just stop, just let go. You stood at the edge of everything you had left, staring into the abyss, wondering if it was even worth it anymore. No one would notice if you faded. No one would care if you disappeared. You had given everything, fought every battle, endured every wound, and yet it still felt like the world was indifferent to your struggle. The war inside you raged like never before. One side begged you to surrender, to slip quietly into the background, to accept the life they had written for you. The other side, the side that had been beaten, bruised, and buried, refused to die. It was weak, barely a whisper, but it was still there. Asterisk. Not yet, not like this. The thought came so softly, so quietly, that you almost didn't hear it, but it was enough. An ember in the ashes, a flicker of something that hadn't been completely destroyed. You could have given in. You could have accepted your place in the shadows, let their expectations become your reality. It would have been easier to stay down, to become what they always said you were, nothing. But something in you, asterisk, changed, asterisk. Maybe it was the weight of all the suffering. Maybe it was the years of silence. Maybe it was the realization that if you didn't fight back now, you never would. Whatever it was, It lit something inside you, a quiet defiance, a refusal to let them be right about you. They thought they had won. They thought they had buried you so deep you would never rise. But they underestimated you again, because in that moment, in that breaking point where most would have given up, you made a decision. Asterisk. Not yet. Not like this. You weren't finished. And soon, they would regret the day they ever overlooked you. The first step was the hardest. Not because you were weak, but because for so long, they made you believe you couldn't take it. Doubt still clung to you like a shadow, whispering old lies. But something had shifted. The weight that once held you down now felt different. Not like chains, but like resistance. Something to push against. Something to make you stronger. You weren't starting from nothing. You were rebuilding from the ruins they left you. Turning every scar, every rejection, every moment of suffering into something unshakable. The pain that once made you hesitate now became your fuel. Every insult, every moment of being ignored, every time they counted you out. It all became kindling for the fire inside you. You no longer carried their words as burdens. You carried them as proof that you had survived. And now, you were done surviving. Now, you were becoming. You realized something they never wanted you to know. You were never broken. You were never weak. You were never the failure they made you out to be. You were being forged. Every trial, every hardship, every tear was shaping you into something unstoppable. They thought they had beaten you, but all they had done was create the very thing they feared the most. A version of you that refused to bow, refused to be silent, refused to be nothing. They never saw it coming. They never expected the storm that was now rising inside you. But it was too late for them now, because you were no longer the person they dismissed. You were no longer asking for their approval, their permission, their validation. You were done waiting, done doubting, done playing small. They had their chance to recognize you. They ignored it. Now they would have no choice but to watch as you became everything they swore you never could be. The climb was never meant to be easy. Every step forward felt like pushing against an invisible force, a weight pressing down, daring you to give up. But this time, you didn't falter. You didn't hesitate. The difference between the old you and the one standing here now. You had stopped looking for shortcuts. You had stopped waiting for miracles. You had stopped hoping that someone would finally see your worth and hand you what you deserve. No more waiting. No more asking. Now you took asterisk. Every day was a war, but it was a war you embraced. The grind became your ritual. The small victory, the ones no one else saw, became your fuel. The early mornings, the late nights, the hours spent in silence, perfecting your craft, sharpening your mind, toughening your spirit. It wasn't glamorous. There was no applause, no recognition, no validation. And that was the point, because you weren't doing it for them anymore. You weren't chasing their approval. You weren't trying to prove anything. You were building something real, something no one could take from you. Rejection no longer wounded you. It only fed your hunger. Every time they shut a door, you built your own. Every time they turned their backs, you moved in silence, growing stronger, more dangerous, more unstoppable. You no longer saw failure as an ending. You saw it as an invitation to rise again, to adapt, to become smarter, sharper, harder to break. You stopped seeing discipline as suffering and started seeing it as the weapon that would separate you from the rest. And soon they would notice, not because you needed them to, but because they wouldn't be able to ignore you anymore. The version of you that once doubted, once hesitated, once begged to be seen, that person was gone. In their place stood someone unbreakable, someone who had taken every loss, every setback, every moment of being overlooked and turned it into pure, relentless power. You had stopped waiting for permission. You had stopped asking if you were good enough. Now you knew asterisk. And now you are taking what was yours. At first they don't believe it. They see you, but something is different, something they can't quite place. You walk differently. You speak with a quiet certainty, an unshaken presence that wasn't there before. You don't flinch at their words anymore. You don't shrink in their presence. You don't seek their approval, and that unsettles them. The whispers begin again, but this time they aren't mocking. They aren't laughing at you anymore. They're asterisk questioning, asterisk, asterisk, how, when. They thought they had buried you, counted you out, dismissed you as nothing more than a fading shadow. But now they feel the shift, and for the first time, doubt creeps into their asterisk mind, not yours. They start watching, trying to make sense of what's happening. You were supposed to stay down. You were supposed to remain forgotten. But here you are, rising, not by luck, not by chance, but through an undeniable force they can't ignore. The strength in your eyes unsettles them. The fire in your presence unnerves them, because now they realize something terrifying. Asterisk, they were wrong about you. The same voices that once laughed at your struggles now speak in hushed tone, wary, uncertain. They don't say it out loud, but you can see it in their eyes, the fear, the disbelief, the slow creeping realization that they made a mistake. They underestimated you, and now there's nothing they can do to stop what's coming. The ones who doubted you now watch in silence, no longer sure of themselves. And deep down, they know they should have never counted you out. You stand where they never thought you would. You have become everything they swore you couldn't be. The weight of their doubts, the chains of their rejection, the whispers of their mockery, none of it holds you anymore. You shattered their expectations, not by proving them wrong, but by proving asterisk yourself asterisk right. Pain is no longer your prison. It is your power. Every loss you endured, every moment of suffering, every tear shed in silence, it all became the foundation of something unbreakable. You did not just survive. You asterisk transformed asterisk. You took every scar and turned it into a lesson, every setback and turned it into fuel. Now they see it. Now they asterisk feel asterisk it. You are no longer bound by their opinions. Their words hold no weight. Their approval is meaningless, because you have reclaimed your story, taken back the pen, and rewritten the script they tried to force upon you. They no longer define you, asterisk, you define yourself. And now, the tables have turned. The same people who once dismissed you, ignored you, doubted you, they hesitate now. They watch you differently. They don't mock, they measure their words. They don't scoff, they listen. The ones who once denied you a seat at their table now glance at you with uncertainty, wondering if you would even asterisk acknowledge asterisk them. Respect is no longer something you chase. It is something you asterisk command asterisk. You walk into a room and they asterisk feel asterisk your presence before they see you. Not because you are loud, not because you demand attention, but because you have become the force they never saw coming. The force they cannot ignore. The force that proves, beyond all doubt, that you were never asterisk, nothing asterisk. You were always asterisk, everything asterisk. And now, the world finally knows it. The moment has arrived, the reckoning. The ones who once laughed, who turned their backs, who counted you out, now look at you with a different set of eyes. Eyes filled not with mockery, but with fear, with regret, with the weight of a realization they can no longer escape. The underdog they ridiculed has become the very force they never wanted to face. You don't seek revenge. You don't have to. Your success, your rise, your asterisk existence asterisk is the only answer you need. You don't need their apologies, their explanation, their sudden change of heart, because the truth is clear. They were wrong asterisk, and now they know it. They see what you have become, and they understand, far too late, that they never had power over you. Asterisk. You asterisk were the one with the power all along. They thought you needed them. They thought you would always be beneath them, waiting for approval, for validation, for permission to step into your greatness. But now, the truth is undeniable. Asterisk, you don't need them. But they need you. They need your presence, your recognition, your acceptance, but you have outgrown their world. You are not one of them. You never were. You were always asterisk, more asterisk. This is not about vengeance. It never was. This was about you, about proving to asterisk yourself, asterisk, that you were never small, never weak, never invisible. This was about rising, not to spite them, but to fulfill what was always meant to be. They thought you were nothing, but you were never nothing. You were always asterisk, everything asterisk, and now the world sees it. Now, asterisk, they asterisk see it, and there is nothing they can do to change that. You have risen beyond the fight, beyond the need to prove them wrong. This was never truly about them. It was about asterisk, you asterisk, about what you were meant to become. And now, you stand in your power, not as a reaction to their doubts, but as a force of your own making. You no longer walk with the weight of needing to be seen. You no longer seek their recognition, their regret, their acknowledgement, because what you have built, what you have become, exists beyond their reach. They are trapped in the past, in the version of you that no longer exists, but you, asterisk. You move forward. You move for something greater. Now, others watch, not the ones who doubted you, but the ones who asterisk need asterisk you, the ones who were once like you, standing in the dark, unsure if rising was even possible. They see you, and in your rise they find hope. You were once forgotten, dismissed, cast aside, but now you have become a symbol of something unstoppable. This is your legacy. Not just survival, not just success, but transformation. You are no longer a story that fades, a name that disappears into the background. No, you have become something asterisk, eternal asterisk, a force they will never erase, a name they will asterisk, never asterisk, forget, because they thought you were nothing but you, asterisk.